All right, so that'll do us for that part of the stream.
Okay.
Do you want to hop on Discord, Dad?
I need to. I assume it's an app.
Yes. Well, there's a web app for it. You don't actually have to download the full app, but you do need to register.
Okay, let me do that real quick.
Yep. Let me get Jason.
Are you going to shut down this stream when we go to Discord?
Wasn't planning to. I'll just keep it up, and we can use that as the after hours session. Let's see. Jason, you are now part of the Q&A group, so you can join the Standby for Action voice channel. I'll be there in 1 second, Jason. Remember though that there is a delay between Twitch and the real life, and Discord does not have that delay. So if you are joining us in Discord for voice chat, you will need to mute Twitch while you're doing that. Or alternatively, you could mute Discord, depending on what you prefer. You'll obviously hear less of us if you mute Twitch, but you'll only hear what we actually say to Discord if you're in Discord. So,
hey, what's the server name?
are you all registered? How can I send that to you easily? Let's send it to you via Hangouts. Okay. Hey, Jason, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Did you activate push to talk?
Yes, I have push to talk.
Okay. We're gonna hop down to the Standby for Action channel, which you should have access to now.
Okay, I think so. I'm gonna mute Twitch.
Okay, sounds good. I'll see you down there. Okay. And make sure that, yeah. Connect, speak. Okay, cool. Should be good. Although I think I can I drag him? It turns out I can just drag you down here. That'll work.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, it sounds good. You sound good. Welcome to the stream.
Thank you.
The whole world, which means pretty much just you at this point, can hear you. My dad's getting kind of fired up right now.
Sure.
So are you do you have any like actual questions for us? Or are you just gonna hang for a little bit?
Well, right now I'm trying to figure out the voice to talk thing.
Yeah, it sounds like it's working pretty well. You sound good on my end.
Well, I think I'm trying to go back and forth between the chat in Discord and the voice that the push to talk.
Oh, right. So you should be in. Well, the push to talk key. You don't. You can just press even when you're in the chat. It should work just fine. Depending, of course, what you have set for push to talk. If you have like a letter or something, then it might screw up your typing.
Yeah, like the genius that I am, I chose T for talk.
See, I use left control is usually my go-to.
That's much wiser.
Well, I may not have been on Earth for very long, but a bunch of it has been playing voice chat computer games, so.
The extent of my experience with push to talk chatting, it has happened over the course of the past 5 minutes.
Awesome. Well, you know what? Everyone needs to learn a new experience each day, and I'm glad we could deliver this one to you.
Crawl before you walk.
Yeah, that's right. One of the many services we here at Legendary Pants provide. Still waiting for Dad to figure his shit out.
Well, he's old like me, so it might take him a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, and he also disconnected from Twitch, so I don't even know what he's doing. So yeah, we're working on some technical stuff here. As you can hear, Jason Scott Gleason is joining us in chat, and as soon as my father shows up, we'll have an exchange with Jason.
Well, I only became familiar with Twitch last week.
Became familiar with what?
With Twitch.
Oh yeah. Twitch is good stuff. Actually, Keo Cree kind of spearheaded our launch to Twitch. He's the other guy who's my age who kind of works on this stuff, but he mostly does our streaming for gaming and whatnot.
Yeah, I've seen him while I was waiting to jump into these chat sessions. I've seen him playing games and putting it on display for anybody who wanted to watch.
Yeah, which is I gotta say, and I don't know how you personally feel about this, but like I find that if I'm watching a friend of mine play a video game, sure I can do that for a while, but if I'm watching some stranger play a video game, it is boring as shit.
I am 100% in agreement with that.
Yeah. So, but he's got he's only been doing it for a week and change, and he's got like 40 people who have followed him already.
To each their own.
Yeah, I get, well, a bunch of them to their own apparently, because I do not get it. I find that I find watching other people play D&D boring, but that's a huge thing right now.
Yeah, I have a friend who keeps on sending me links to people that are playing D&D games, and from a purely academic perspective, it's kind of interesting, but it's not entertaining, and it's only interesting in a purely academic way, the same way that like a calculus class is interesting.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, and I'll watch. Actually, the big guy I like to watch is Matt Colville. He does a lot of like kind of DMing advice and stuff like that. And watching his sessions was kind of nice because I could see him actually using the things that he is advising. So that was interesting to watch for an hour or so. But after that, I was just kind of like, it was just boring.
Yeah, I can't watch other people play D&D because I get jealous, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. How often do you manage to get to play?
Not often at all. I just moved to North Carolina about 6 months ago, and so I don't really know that many people in the area, but there's apparently a very large gaming subculture here, and I've managed to fall in with a group of people that play Pathfinder every other week, and I've gotten out to about 4 or 5 of those sessions.
Pathfinder. Have you heard my whole rant on Pathfinder?
I have not, but I have time.
Yeah. Apparently we both do because I don't know if my dad's trying to connect to Discord with a layover in Dallas. Here's where like. You know I don't like Shadowrun because the rule system is not well organized. It is complex unnecessarily, and it's just bogged down. I find that Pathfinder took D&D there as well. And this is really like and not to pick on Pathfinder, I didn't care for 3.5 either. And I say that understanding that a lot of people have kind of a nostalgia for 3.5. And I actually, my first real, concentrated D&D was 3.5. That's, in college, I played every week for over a year. It was 3.5. So, when I say I hate 3.5, it's not because I didn't play it. It's not because I don't have that nostalgia. I just can't fucking stand it. And like the biggest complaint I always had about it was, okay, oh great, we're gonna push a new supplement, and hold on, I gotta give my dad some directions.
Go for it.
On the left, click on the SBFA voice channel. So anyways, every time there was a supplement, every time there was like, oh, so-and-so thought of a new class or whatever, they would always like, here's a new rule you need to know. And, okay, well, here's a new rule, so here's another feat or 3 to change, modify, or counteract that rule. Oh, and here we're going to throw in an extra 10 feats just for the fuck of it. There were so many goddamn feats at the end of that the game was unplayable.
So your frustration with 3.5 is a lot like my frustration with first edition, because that was the first edition that I played. I thought that first edition and the original rule book, I mean, it was magical to me because I was in 10, 11, 12 years old when I started playing that, as opposed to like basic D&D. But they had they had Unearthed Arcana and Oriental Adventures, and then they had a bunch of stuff in Dragon magazine. They just class after class and weapon after weapon. And it ended up becoming mind-boggling and not in a good way. And 3.5 did the same thing, but if you go back to the 3.5 player's handbook and you don't allow all of the additional supplements, all the splat books, it's a great system.
I don't disagree with you there. I will say that 3.5 had a pretty solid core system, and I mean, obviously it did. It's lasted, how long? 20 years?
Yeah, that makes me feel old, thanks.
Well, I mean, shit. I played it in college, which was in 2000 and, let's see, I graduated in 2008. So I started playing in 2006. So shit, that was 11 years ago. And that thing had been out for a while. Like, we grabbed free PDFs offline. Like, that's it, of everything. There he is. I'm going to drag him down. Oh, he joined. You right there, Dad?
Probably be another 5 minutes.
Oh, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh my God, you are so loud. Hold on.
All right, no, wait. I'll lower my mic gain. Hang on.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. How about now?
You are better.
Better or good?
Better. If you go a little lower, it'd probably be best.
How about now?
That sounds great.
All right.
Dad, this is Jason. Jason, Dad.
Hey, good morning or good evening, I guess.
Yeah. Hi there.
Hi. All right, let's see. I'm going to push escape. Does that take me back? Am I still good?
Yeah, you're still here.
All right, awesome. Okay. Woo! Oh, technology.
Yeah, you wouldn't think you were a fucking computer programmer or nothing.
I've been a computer programmer for like going on 40 years.
Yeah, back in the day, the only voice comms we had were 2 cans and a fucking string.
Yeah, you're not lying, actually. I've done that.
Old people. Right, Jason?
Don't judge me.
Do you have push-to-talk on there, Dad?
I do not.
Please activate that, because I don't want to hear every little goddamn thing you're doing in your garage.
I'm not doing anything. Sitting here. All right, stand by. You suck.
I know. So, anyways, fuck, I forgot what we were talking about.
3.5 and Pathfinder.
How about now?
Frustration in general.
Yeah, you sound good there, Dad. So your solution of just letting them play the vanilla rules and that's it. That's a it's a good solution. I like that. I just, I like it when systems are moddable. I just felt that the way 3.5 became moddable was just so like bag of dirty laundry every time.
Well, 3.5 set itself up to be infinitely moddable, and everything from how you can create fighters with their own set of feats to specialize them, to all the new classes and the whole 9 yards. So it's an infinite number, hypothetically infinite number of classes, hypothetically infinite number of feats, hypothetically infinite number of variations. And I think one of the big problems is it lacked a cohesive structure in terms of I don't know, maybe the psychology behind it, or the philosophy, the guiding philosophy. And with there being no guiding philosophy, it all ended up being, you could play any class as any other class by modding your own class to become a different class.
Right, and that's where you get what a lot of people are terming munchkining, where
God, yeah.
Yeah, and my one friend, and I say this in the good spirit of friendship, if he ever actually watches the shit, Cassidy, like he's a fun player, and Dad, you play with Cassidy. He's fun. He's a good role player. He's a good player, but when he gets Pathfinder or 3.5 in his hands, he goes ape shit, min-maxing every character he can.
I have a friend who played a druid that had a bear totem and had a dire bear as his animal friend, and he managed to contract lycanthropy to become a werebear, and it literally became, at about 13th or 14th level, he would become he'd go into like half form, and he'd use all of his totem stuff, and like he had all this shit that stacked, and he ended up with a 34 strength, and he was a werebear riding a dire bear, and none of the rest of the party was irrelevant, and that wasn't fun for anybody because nobody else mattered at that point.
I don't know, werebear riding a dire bear. You may have just sold me back on Pathfinder.
It sucked. It sucked to play with him because it's like nobody else mattered in the fight. The amount of damage that he did, if it was a challenge for him, then everyone else was irrelevant, and if it was a challenge for everyone else, he nerfed him.
Yeah, and that's where 5e is helping me a lot, because the kinds of situations where you've got like the way too powerful build from the Munchkin player just doesn't. They've settled a lot of that out of the rules pretty well, and the core philosophy of the rules seems to pretty much be, keep shit fairly simple, because the players and DMs can make it more complicated if they want to, but that's not our job.
Yeah, that's from what I've seen, from what I've played, that seems to be the case.
I know you've got a huge input on the 3.5 discussion, Dad.
Yeah, I'm just chomping at the bit here, waiting to get a word in.
So now, Jason, you're actually not following 2050 as heavily as you're following Arcana. That's correct?
That's not correct. The first thing that got me interested in Arcana, or in this, was your treatment of Arcana, which I thought was a great. It's very refreshing. But most of what I've seen that I've had input on, or that I've been, I guess, engaged in, has been the 2050.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, because I was actually going to ask if you'd played any custom magic systems aside from like core systems in 3.5 or anything like that.
Well, I've made a custom magic system, so yes.
Oh, do tell.
I don't know, back when I was in college, I did a series of magic systems that were based on overarching concepts of magic, and it was just everything had 10 different ranks, and as you progressed in a specific, essentially school of magic, you got more powerful and stuff like that. So, I mean, it was 20 years ago, and it was fun to do it at the time. And I don't have any of the source material anymore, but stuff like that. And I've modded shit, and a friend of mine and I are making a role playing system right now that's just totally off the beaten path, I guess. But yeah, I'm familiar with geeks being geeks.
Right. And actually, when it's funny because you mentioned the ranked magic system, that reminds me of the system my dad always goes into an orgasm talking about Bob's system, Dad.
Oh yeah, that was genius. I mean, it really was.
Well, you can't leave it there.
Okay, well, so very roughly, what Bob did was, and he brought. I learned to play. I played with Bob when I was in the Marine Corps when I was a pup, and Bob had developed this in college as well and brought it into the Marine Corps with him. But the basic concept was that magic was divided up by elements: earth, air, fire, and water, and there was also a neutral magic. And each of the elements had kind of a focus. Energy and power. Earth was time and space. Water was life and, like life energy. And then air was the mind. And neutral magic was basically magic that affected magic. Kind of like what we've done with neutral. And he took all the 1E spells, split them up, and then he subdivided them into tracks. So you would, like for instance, and I remember this because my first character was a fire magic user. So he had the right hand track started with, and he had a right hand track, a vocal track, and a left hand track. So theoretically, if your caster was intelligent enough, and his casting ability was based on intelligence, if your caster was intelligent enough, he could literally throw 3 spells at once. But it was tracked. So you'd start off with the right hand was magic missile, and then at I think it was 3rd level you got a basic lightning bolt, or you could branch into fireball. And then if you remember back in 1E, they would have different levels of each of these, whereas now you can slot it differently. But you could cast these spells all the way up. So you start with magic missile, then you go to lightning bolt, then you go to chain lightning, then you go to like a level 6 lightning bolt, level 7 lightning bolt, theoretically, so on and so forth. And you'd cast each of these as you went up to the top. But it was just a really well crafted system, and it made a lot of sense, really right out of the box. It didn't take me long to catch on to it at all, even though this was literally the first magic system I used in playing D&D.
Yeah. I'm still kind of upset that you lost the source on that.
I could very much recreate it, I'm sure.
Then why isn't it in front of me?
Because we've been working on other shit.
Yeah, this is a 5th edition mod system that you guys are doing, and if you guys want to go in that direction, that could be years and years and years of fun.
Well, that's one vote in favor.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
And here's the thing too, Jason. And it's funny you should say that, because like what we've done so far with Arcana is kind of what we're calling phase 1. In phase 2, we're gonna get a little more nuts and boltsy with it, but we're still not 100% sure what our phase 3 is gonna be. And it is possible. I make no promises, but it is possible that something like that could emerge from Phase 3.
Well, is the goal to end up modding 5th edition, or is the goal to end up creating a separate system?
So the goal, and again, we're not trying. When you say mod, I guess we go with that. We're trying to create top even into an existing campaign, just to give players some options to and GMs some options to flavor their campaigns and to help them, like, maybe even role play their characters to a degree. And ultimately, shit, I can't remember exactly where I was going with that.
Let me pick up then. That's definitely the goal for phases 1 and 2. Primarily is to kind of take what 5e has, organize it better, maybe get a better understanding of how it should work or how it was intended to work, even though it's not actually clear, and that will give players and DMs, more freedom to kind of tweak the magic to help their campaigns, to help their characters, to make things a little more user friendly. However, our Phase 3 plans are not; they're a little more nebulous, and in the end, we may end up kind of taking the 5e magic, breaking it down, and then rebuilding a new system out of it.
But I still think that system could be layered into an existing game with very little effort.
And that would be the goal. And that's why we're kind of taking the spells themselves as the atomic unit so far, because that allows players and GMs to play with the things that they're used to, just organized and restricted and freer in different ways than they may be accustomed to.
Right. So, and one thing we're working on now is kind of what we're calling. Is it okay to talk about where we're going?
With the Wheel of Magic, that one?
Yeah, the wheel. So
yeah.
So we're talking about the wheel, and the Wheel of Magic conceptually is like a color wheel where magics that are roughly related or have elements in common, like illusion and enchantment, have a lot in common. They both work on the brain. Would be like next to each other on the wheel, kind of like a color wheel, an artist's color wheel. So, you could create a magic user or a subclass of caster. I know it's not called a subclass anymore. 5e kind of changed those phrases, but you could create a class of caster that would, rather than having a set spell list as the way they are now, sorcerer, wizards, is he would figure out, he was an adept at magic, let's just say enchantment. So he would be an adept at enchantment, but he would also get some spells from maybe illusion, and maybe he gets some spells from something else because they're nearby on the wheel.
And more important,
so his specialization in the magic essentially would have a profound impact on what he's specifically focused in, and would have a lesser but functional impact on things that were related to but not the same as.
Exactly. And with that in consideration, Neutrum becomes the center of that wheel, where all magic users understand that school as well as any other magic user.
I think 2nd edition, they created actually an octagon of magic where it had 8 different schools and 8 different directions, and they conceptualized it originally as these are related, and I think that enchantment and illusion were 2 related ones, and evocation and something else. God, I don't remember what. But they had like a high confluence between them. But they had like that kind of, I guess, color wheel theoretical philosophy. They just didn't go anywhere with it.
Right, and it seems, yeah, and I'm not sure. The problem may be in the reason that never moved along, although I'm not familiar with second edition in the slightest, is that D&D players, especially up through probably third edition, where the game, as far as I can tell, definitely took kind of a right turn, are very, not hidebound, but very traditional. You're kind of, you've kind of got what you've got, and you understand what you've got, and making such a fundamental change as basing the spells that you have access to on something like, the length of your thumb or the color of your eyes may have been a bit too much for most players. So they fell back on what they knew, and Wizards tried this a couple times, and nobody really bid off on it. So fuck it, let's just go back to this.
Well, first edition was Lord of the Rings across the board, and the entire purpose of first edition AD&D was trying to let people recreate the characters from Lord of the Rings, and that's it. And third edition was very moddable, and it was very flexible, and it was, let's let people create whatever we want to create and have fun with it. And second edition was kind of like this weird transitional period where they were kind of going in that direction, but they weren't sure where it was going to go, if that makes sense.
When you say, Jason, when you say second edition, do you mean like AD&D 2E, or do you mean like AD&D before 3, and by first edition you mean like the original Dungeons and Dragons?
No, I'm specifically talking to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook came out in '78, I think. That's like first edition AD&D. Before that was the affectionately known Red Box. The original Dungeons and Dragons
right
rules, and before that was Chainmail.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we were all in the same nomenclature, because yeah. Yeah, because it's funny you should say that that 1E was like was basically create Lord of the Rings, because in OD&D, the original 3 brown books, the halflings were actually called hobbits until the Tolkien estate came and smacked them down.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say Tolkien was definitely a big inspiration, but there were other well-known fantasy series and settings that AD&D was trying to encapsulate. The whole
absolutely, but there's no confluence between any of those and AD&D to the profound degree of Tolkien. I mean, look at the Ranger class. That literally is the Rangers.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. In a lot of the base classes, but I think as time went on, certainly with some of the supplements, they kind of branched, and there was inclusion of like elements of Shannara and elements of
well, obviously, because Unearthed Arcana pushed like the Barbarian class, which is basically, you might as well just be called a level 1 Conan.
Basically. Yeah, literally. And the interesting thing about those classes is a lot of those classes were homebrews that kind of took off, and TSR eventually was like, okay, fuck it.
Oh yeah,
a couple of them, they showed up in Dragon magazine before the Unearthed Arcana was published.
I believe that like 95% of Unearthed Arcana's like base material came out of Dragon magazine.
At least that much.
And I want to say like that was the introduction to the book. I've got it behind me. I could go look, but like that was the premise of Unearthed Arcana, was like, here we dug through the dragons and pushed what we thought was the best stuff. Yeah, luckily they kept the anti-paladins out of it.
Oh God, yeah, and I've had this argument again and again, and I read an article in Dragon, obviously decades ago, where it talked about alignment being a function, good and evil, not really alignment, but good and evil being a function of viewpoint rather than an absolute. So you didn't need to have an anti-paladin, which was the dumbest freaking thing ever. If you were a paladin for an evil god, you ran around and did evil shit, but that's because that's what your god wanted you to do. And as far as he was concerned, your god, you were still a shining example of paladinhood.
See, this is where I know the phrases that'll trigger Dad's PTSD when it comes to fucking old edition D&D, and anti-paladin is one of them.
Well, in second edition, they brought in the concept of specialty priests, and basically, a paladin was nothing more than the specialty priest of a lawful good god of war and justice. And you can do the exact same thing with any god. You can craft a class around the pinnacle of worship of that god.
Yeah, well, and actually, originally in AD&D, and I'm assuming in 2E, druids were just clerics, but they were nature-y clerics. I mean, they were special in their own way, but like they were a subclass of cleric.
Right. Yeah, and they had their own ranger class.
Right. I always considered the ranger to be like a druid paladin.
Kind of, sort of, maybe.
Although I believe in 1E, didn't he get divine and arcane spells? The ranger class was fucking weird in that edition.
Yes.
Yes, but all the arcane spells he got were like nature oriented.
Yeah, it was fucking like, how much shit do I need to keep track of?
Well, I mean, a well played ranger was a pretty powerful character,
especially at low levels, largely because they started out with 2d8 hit dice at first level.
That's right, I remember that.
Well, I mean, plus they had all these kind of goofy little things they could do, like animal friending and all that shit. I mean, they got that real early, and that was useful stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you just gotta make sure you prep create water. This is the most useful spell in the book.
Not from a role-playing perspective.
Oh man, I remember I played a Dark Sun campaign where somehow the guy had managed to give somebody create water, and it was like, why the fuck are we even playing Dark Sun at this point?
Yeah, then you just need a create ceramic bit spell, and you'll be loaded.
Yeah, exactly. Ah, boy. Anyone got anything else? Because it's after 10 now. You said you're in North Carolina, Jason?
Yeah, I just moved here to Asheville from Maryland.
From Maryland? Where in Maryland?
Just south of Baltimore.
Oh, okay. I am currently outside of Philadelphia, and my father is a little north of me in Wilkes-Barre. Although I spent a fair amount of my teenage years in Arlington, Virginia.
Well, you have my sympathy for that. I've done some work both in Wilkes-Barre and in the Philly area, in like King of Prussia.
Yes, King of Prussia is about 20 minutes from me.
I'm familiar with the area.
Oh yeah. No, come on, it's not that bad. Just gotta stay off the turnpike. So anyway, so you're also on the East Coast, so it's a little after 10 for you. Dad, you got anything? You got anything else?
No, at this time I'm good.
All right. Well, Jason, thanks for chatting with us. We'll definitely look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks for having me, and I look forward to actually talking about 2050 one of these days.
Yes, we'll get to it next week, I promise.
Yeah, we should have some more meat to chew on by then.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're not playing any 5e campaigns then, I guess, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you go to your Pathfinder group and you want to subvert the DM and start playtesting 2050, let me know. I'll push you. I'll push you some advanced material.
Well, the guys around here that do the Pathfinder are pretty militant about the Pathfinder Society thing, so probably not.
Oh boy.
But that having been said, I have a friend back in Baltimore, and he and I are creating a role-playing game right now, and I'd love to get him, convince him to join these chats, because he's a fun dude.
So you say you're creating a role-playing game. So I'm going to take that at face value and assume that you mean
Hold on. I don't want to compromise Jason's role-playing game, so let me cut the stream first.
Oh, okay, I was actually just asking questions about intent rather than details.
Yeah, well, hold on one second. We'll get into it. So, yeah, this is the end of the stream. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
All right.